Welcome, friends, to another r/malicious compliance video. Today we burn some bacon and some compliance. But first, a story for manual antics. If you don't like it, you can leave. Disclaimer, this isn't my story. It belongs to a colleague who says I can put it on the internet for some internet points. Some of the details may be a little lost or exaggerated. The background is two businesses, both alike in trade, in fair UK industrial estates, where we lay out our scene. From ancient deals break to new mutiny, where new owner's blood makes old civil hands unclean. The story comes from an employee of Company A, who manufactured product A, and across the industrial estate, there was Company B, who produced product B. Now, both businesses had started up independently about 20 years previously. Both companies could have reversed engineered each other's products fairly easily and had most of the major machinery to begin production. However, both of the owners had met early on and came to a gentleman's arrangement where they each agreed not to produce each other's products and would endorse each other's business if clients needed the other products. Both had pretty decent success, and there was a very friendly rivalry between the two companies. For example, they each had amateur football teams, local pub quiz teams, etc., but a lot of cooperation too, borrowing staff to fix each other's machines. However, all good things must come to an end. The owner of Company A was retiring and selling up. From what I can gather, the owner was a pretty decent bloke and had tried to put a all staff guaranteed their jobs for 12 months clause into the sale of the business. He'd had a few offers, including the owner of Company B, again, another decent bloke. I think he offered around 80% of the asking price. However, on the last day for offers, a southern company offers him 125% of the asking price, though with the 12-month clause removed. Understandably, the owner took this offer because, well, who wouldn't? He did promise that he would give each employee a glowing reference if they ever needed it. These new owners came in with a swath of new policies, targets, the whole shebang. At first, they targeted the sales team with impossible-to-reach quotas, excessive management, over-the-top timekeeping. You get the picture. It was miserable for them. Understandably, most of the team, except two, had quit and been replaced by the time they refocused on the production team. First, they came with demands for faster production, then pushed hard against downtime, started buying in shoddier materials which increased wastage as they broke more often. At the same time, they shouted about wanting lower damage rates. They also wanted them to reverse engineer product B, which was done but deliberately at a snail's pace. Now, on to the action. Let's introduce Tom. Tom was the manager of the entire production team of 14 staff. He'd been the first employee ever hired by the company and knew everything about everything in the business and was exceptionally good at his job. About 9 months since the takeover, the entire production team was dragged into a morning meeting with these new owners who proceeded to berate the entire team for being lazy, expensive, and useless blah blah blah. Eventually, Tom had had enough of it. He told them in no uncertain terms that the reason for damages going up was because of their worst materials, that pushing the staff without the downtime breaks was causing more staff fatigue, increasing illness and damaged goods, etc. He calmly rebuffed each and every criticism leveled at his team. This wound up the new owners, who got increasingly frustrated with him. Eventually, the lead new owner shouted at him, "If you don't like it, you can always leave." So Tom left the room without another word. Everyone from the staff to the owners was completely shocked. Staff couldn't believe he'd abandoned them. Owners, that anyone would be stupid enough to walk out. The meeting was finished about 10 minutes later. The staff returned to the production unit. Tom isn't there. His car is gone. He won't answer his phone. The next day, nothing. Vanished. Late in the afternoon the day after, the production assistant manager gets a text from Tom. It's brief. All staff, pub, 5:30. Intriguing. At 5:30, they all duly file into the pub, filled with mystery and excitement. Sitting in one of the large booths is Tom and a friend, the owner of Company B. Quickly seated and brought drinks. It turns out that when the owners told Tom to leave, he did. But he wasn't just prepared to leave it at that, no siree. Since the meeting, Tom had explained the entire situation to owner B, including they were trying to make his product, assumedly to compete and push him out of business. Owner B was not impressed. He had extended an olive branch of peace to the new owners at the start, but they refused to even speak to him. So with both axes to grind, they'd come to an arrangement. Owner B would hire all of the production team on terms relatively similar to what they already had if they'd come and make product A for him. Said to go away and think about it, which they did until the end of the week. All agreed they'd prefer to work for owner B, and even convinced him to extend the offer to the 2 surviving members of the sales team since they knew the client base and sales pattern. Monday morning, 9 a.m., 17 letters of resignation, 14 staff plus Tom and 2 sales, are hand-delivered to the new owners in their ivory tower office. Under the terms of the contract, any production staff who resigned were immediately to be removed from the premises, assumedly to stop any sabotage, though the 2 sales had to continue with their notice period. Panicking, the owners pled with the team to not leave, to serve some notice period, train some new staff, anything. Tom, in true cinematic style, stops. He turns partway around and says, "I believe your last words to me were, if I didn't like it, I could always leave." And he walks out the door. Aftermath, Company A simply couldn't find anyone who could produce the products without any training. And since they had no idea on training anyone themselves, production came to a crashing and permanent halt. All of the orders became unfillable, so they had no choice but to cancel and were needed to refund any orders placed. Their entire revenue stream just dried up. With no choice left, they had to shutter their business down. They had to sell off the machinery, a fair portion of which made a short journey across to Company B at knockdown prices. We did try to do some rough maths. Our best estimate is the new owners lost 60 to 70% of the money they'd invested in the business. The sales survivors managed to secure a vast majority of the previous business from Company A, including several of the canceled orders. With that secured, it meant most of the revenue started to flow into Company B, ensuring that the entire staff could continue to work there. Whilst the original owner of A was sad to hear his business had to shut down so soon, he was delighted that many of the staff had secured work with his old business rival and friend. He did visit occasionally and was always warmly received. Moral of the story, don't tell anyone to leave unless you can survive without them. Do you guys think the bigger moral of the story is to not tell anyone to leave unless you can survive without them? Or that if you take over an operation that was running extremely well, that you should highly hesitate to mess with anything before you fully understand how it works? I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments down below. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below so you never miss any of my daily videos. Our next story is from Illuminasa. I don't have enough experience? No problem. This happened a while back and I thought of it today. So, I worked for a county government. It was a small place, 15 employees at most. This led to all of us working over and covering days off and whatnot. The second shift sergeant asked me to cover his shift and supervise everyone, as I've been in the field for 10 years. No problem. I cover the shift, everything goes smoothly, and that was it. Until a week later, I was giving first shift sergeant a shift report, and I told him I'd be more than happy to cover seconds again and supervise as needed. The sergeant informed me that I did not have the experience to cover that shift, and I should leave it to him or another officer to handle it. No problem. Cue a few days later, second shift sergeant is needing help and coverage because he simply doesn't get a day off. I replied with, "I'm sorry. According to the first shift sergeant, I lack the proper experience to cover this. They recommend that you come to them for your coverage." For the next few months, I didn't come in on my days off, and I didn't cover any extra shifts, causing the first shift sergeant and his other guy to work endlessly and complain constantly about how they didn't have a day off. My reply, as always, I hope someone with more experience comes in to help you guys. I left the job a bit after that. Good luck to them. Although some people may take this personally, being told, oh, you don't have enough experience to handle this stuff, especially when you're offering to help out. I mean, I would be of the opinion that I'm like, hey, you know what? That's fine. I won't overextend myself. Good luck, experienced people. You know when to send me my paycheck. This next story is from Chris Meg Monkey 4, like burn my bacon. Okay. When I was working as a waitress at a restaurant who are famous for their breakfast during the morning shift, A man came in and ordered a coffee black. He wanted the classic pancake combo with 4 buttermilk pancakes, 2 eggs, hash browns, and bacon or sausage. The man chose bacon and spent at least a full minute or two telling me how crispy he wanted his bacon. I wanted crispy, and when I say crispy, I mean extra crispy. And when I say extra crispy, I mean practically burnt. It's so crispy. I made sure to write down crispy and when to put it in. When I took him out his food and a refill of coffee, I knew that the crispy bacon just wasn't going to cut it for him. I told the cook to redo the bacon to seriously crispy, and I took him out his food. He was really upset about his lacking in crispness bacon and was glad to hear I was having the cook redo it. I've had difficult customers before, but this guy sent his bacon back 2 more times. Finally, I just told the cook to slightly burn the bacon, and that's what he'd get. The cook, who was also miffed at this point, nodded, and the next bacon he handed me was clearly burnt. When I placed it down, he got upset again, saying that now we're giving him burnt bacon. And I refilled his coffee for the 3rd time and said with a smile, "Then you finally got what you wanted. Enjoy your meal." He definitely had crispy bacon on his table. I think we can all trust that this cook that's working at a breakfast restaurant knows how to properly crisp some bacon, so the idea that maybe their technique isn't good enough is probably not the issue here. I feel like this is one of those games where you have a flashing light that keeps sliding left and right over a bar, and you have to press the button to stop it right on a very slim line. That very slim line is the perfect cooking crispiness for this guy's bacon. Anything slightly over, anything slightly under, whole thing's ruined. How dare you? You might as well have insulted my mother and my grandma. And our final story of the day is from Mitchell Struck. Can't expense the fuel for driving myself, but I can book a limo? Okay. 15 years ago, when I was a precocious young IT tech, I used to fly domestically once or twice a month to the company's new factory to fix something or other, or help with a big install in an area that was being opened. I would often volunteer for these trips, something the older guys with kids appreciated. They were past their traveling days, or at least past wanting to wake up that early. It often involved a 6:30 flight up, back down 6:30 p.m. the same day. I didn't mind as I got overtime, beginning when I left the house, ending when I got home. When I first started doing these trips, my girlfriend would drop me off at the airport. It's only 5 miles from my house, and she'd be up early for her commute or to head to the allotment anyway. A couple of months in, I was submitted my expenses when a colleague pointed out that I hadn't claimed for my mileage to and from the airport. It only came to a couple quid each way, but why not? It was a legit expense, so I did. Cue my boss rejecting the claim. Apparently to claim for this and not parking would mean my wife was using the car for hire or reward. I've since found out that this wasn't the case, but anyway, the next trip I book a local mini cab to take me, and he was there to pick me up as well. Cost to the company has now gone from £2 each way to £10 for the morning journey before 6 a.m. and £7 for the return. You shouldn't be claiming for this. We have an account with the airport transfer service. I'll do it this once, but next time, book with the right company. I go to the departmental secretary. I have my boss's email, which I forward to her. She explains the airport transfers company on account is luxury limousines. Not big stretched American cars for prom night, but proper luxury vehicles for executives. We comply with my boss's wishes. Next trip, a man arrives at my end terrace house in an up-and-coming area of the city in a BMW 760IL. Dressed in a suit and a proper chauffeur's hat, he takes my luggage, opens the door for me, checks the temperature, asks if I want music. I half expect a hot towel and a bowl of warm mixed nuts. That evening, he meets me in arrivals with a little printed sign, Mr. Mitchell Truck Company, and walks me to the BMW in the expensive short-stay car park. This is the one and only time someone's done that for me, and I've flown 20 to 30 times a year for my entire life. I'm still in my now dusty workwear, cargo trousers, branded polos, steel-toe boots, being driven home in a long wheelbase 7 Series with a chauffeur with a hat. The secretary tells me those journeys cost the company £120. Which will be charged back to the department at the end of the month. When the boss finds out, he hurriedly asks the secretary to create a new policy, One that allows me to expense book a local mini cab. It's only when we need to lug some heavy gear up to the site that boss allows us to expense fuel on our own cards. Honestly, the saddest part about this whole thing is OP is clearly the most hard-working worker, and they're gonna go and nickel and dime them for what, £5 in mileage costs? This dude's taking shifts and flights that nobody else even wants to think about taking, and they still try to give them the hardest time about nickel and diming them. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another awesome compliance story, click on that left video. Or if you missed my latest video, check out the one on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.